Welcome to an extraordinary journey through time as we explore the fascinating world of the Viking Age, a remarkable period that shaped the course of medieval history from the 8th to the 11th centuries. The stage for our story is set in Scandinavia, encompassing the modern-day territories of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, where a civilization of unprecedented maritime prowess emerged. During this era, Scandinavia was a land of striking contrasts and breathtaking beauty. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a majestic fjord, where towering cliffs plunge into icy waters that stretch like mirrors beneath the northern sky. Dense forests of pine and birch blanketed the inland regions, while rocky coastlines carved by ancient glaciers created natural harbors that would become the launching points for some of history's most daring maritime expeditions. The political landscape of Viking Age Scandinavia was as diverse as its natural terrain. Unlike the centralized kingdoms of medieval Europe, Viking society operated through a complex network of interconnected clans and local chieftains. These communities, known as jarls and carls, maintained their independence while forming alliances and trading partnerships that would eventually evolve into the first Nordic kingdoms. Life in this harsh environment demanded exceptional resilience. The climate was unforgiving, with long, dark winters and brief, intense summers. Yet it was precisely these challenging conditions that forged the remarkable character of the Viking people. They developed sophisticated survival techniques and a deep understanding of their environment, skills that would prove invaluable in their future expeditions. The influential powers of this age weren't concentrated in grand capitals or royal courts, but rather in the numerous Nordic communities scattered across the landscape. Each settlement was a self-contained unit, led by respected chieftains who earned their positions through a combination of military prowess, wisdom, and the ability to provide for their people. These leaders held their positions through a delicate balance of strength and consensus, governing through things, assemblies where free men could voice their opinions and participate in decision-making. What makes this period particularly fascinating is how these seemingly isolated communities would soon impact the entire medieval world. The challenging environment of Scandinavia, rather than limiting their ambitions, spurred these people to look outward, developing the most advanced seafaring technology of their time. The great fjords, rather than being barriers, became training grounds for the most skilled mariners in medieval Europe. From these rugged shores, a culture would emerge that would leave an indelible mark on history, launching expeditions that would reach as far as North America to the west and the Byzantine Empire to the east. The Viking Age represents not just a period of raids and conquest, but a remarkable chapter in human adaptation, innovation, and exploration. If you're passionate about medieval history and want to join us on this incredible historical journey, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Medieval Archives to ensure you don't miss any of our fascinating content. Together, we'll uncover the remarkable stories of how these Nordic societies transformed from isolated communities into one of the most influential maritime powers of the medieval world. At the heart of every Viking expedition was a young navigator, representing a new generation of fearless explorers. These young seafarers, typically in their late teens or early 20s, embodied the Viking spirit of adventure and discovery. They learned their craft through years of apprenticeship, starting as deckhands and gradually mastering the intricate arts of navigation and seamanship. Working alongside these ambitious young navigators were the master shipbuilders, true artisans of their time. These craftsmen carried generations of knowledge in their weathered hands, understanding the subtle qualities of different woods and the precise angles needed for a ship to slice through northern waters. Their expertise wasn't just in construction. They were guardians of ancient shipbuilding secrets, knowing exactly how to create vessels that could withstand the fury of the North Atlantic while remaining light enough to navigate shallow rivers. The senior navigators were perhaps the most respected figures aboard any Viking vessel. These seasoned sailors possessed an almost mystical understanding of the seas, reading the stars, waves, and winds as easily as we read books today. Their knowledge encompassed everything from interpreting cloud formations to tracking migrating birds, skills that meant the difference between life and death on the open ocean. They served not only as guides but as mentors, passing down their invaluable knowledge to the next generation of seafarers. The crew itself was a diverse collection of individuals, each bringing unique skills to the voyage. Among them were weathered fishermen who could predict storms days in advance, traders who spoke multiple languages and understood foreign customs, and warriors who could defend the ship against pirates or raiders. Some crew members specialized in maintaining the ship's wooden structure, while others were expert sailmakers or rope makers. Among all Viking explorers, none looms larger in history than Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red. Around the year 1000 CE, Erikson became the first known European to set foot on North American soil, nearly 500 years before Columbus's famous voyage. Leading a crew of 35 men, he established a settlement called Vinland, believed to be in present-day Newfoundland, Canada. His journey wasn't just a testament to Viking navigational skills. It represented the furthest western expansion of European civilization at that time. The success of figures like Erikson inspired countless young Vikings to take to the seas, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of exploration and innovation. Each successful voyage added to the collective knowledge of these seafaring peoples, making subsequent expeditions more ambitious and far-reaching. Their legacy lives on not just in history books, but in the fundamental principles of navigation and shipbuilding that they pioneered. These figures, from the youngest apprentice to the most seasoned captain, worked together in a complex social hierarchy that valued skill and experience above all else. Their combined expertise created a maritime culture that dominated the seas for centuries, establishing trade routes that would shape medieval commerce and laying the groundwork for future epochs of global exploration. The Viking Age represents one of humanity's most remarkable chapters of exploration and discovery. At its core, this era was defined by an insatiable desire to push beyond the known world, challenging the boundaries of what was thought possible. The Vikings weren't merely adventurers. They were pioneers who transformed the limitations of their harsh northern homeland into opportunities for unprecedented expansion. The heart of their story lies in the constant battle between human ambition and nature's raw power. Every voyage into the unknown Atlantic waters presented a complex web of challenges that tested both their technological ingenuity and their courage. Imagine standing at the helm of a wooden vessel, watching the last glimpse of familiar coastline disappear behind you, knowing that your survival depends entirely on your ability to read the sea's countless moods and messages. These journeys were far more than simple acts of exploration. They represented a sophisticated response to the resource limitations of Scandinavia. The Vikings faced a fundamental challenge. Their homeland's harsh climate and limited arable land couldn't sustain their growing population. This pressure drove them to develop increasingly sophisticated methods of shipbuilding and navigation, transforming necessity into innovation. Their technological adaptations were nothing short of revolutionary. Through generations of trial and error, they developed ships that could handle both deep ocean swells and shallow river waters. Each technological breakthrough, from the innovative hull design to the sophisticated steering oar, represented countless hours of experimentation and often came at the cost of lost ships and crews. These advances weren't just improvements. They were survival mechanisms that allowed entire communities to thrive. The tension between individual courage and collective survival played out daily aboard Viking ships. While sagas often celebrate individual heroes, the reality of Viking navigation demanded an intricate balance between personal bravery and group cooperation. A single sailor's mistake could doom an entire crew, yet individual initiative often meant the difference between disaster and success. This delicate balance fostered a unique culture where personal glory was inextricably linked to the welfare of the entire crew. Perhaps most fascinating was the cultural expansion that accompanied their maritime adventures. As Vikings established trade routes and settlements across Europe, Asia, and North America, they created a complex network of cultural exchange. They weren't just conquerors or traders, they were cultural conduits, absorbing and adapting foreign technologies, customs, and ideas. Their settlements became melting pots where Norse traditions blended with local cultures, creating unique hybrid societies. The unpredictable maritime conditions they faced weren't just physical challenges, they were catalysts for innovation. The Vikings developed sophisticated methods to predict weather patterns, understand ocean currents, and navigate using natural phenomena. Each successful voyage added to their collective knowledge, while each disaster taught valuable lessons that were passed down through generations. This constant push into the unknown shaped their entire worldview. The Vikings developed a cultural ethos that valued both practical skills and daring innovation. Their ships became more than mere vessels. They were floating laboratories where new ideas were tested against the unforgiving reality of the open ocean. Success meant not just survival, but the opening of new trade routes, the discovery of new lands, and the establishment of new settlements. Their expansion reshaped the medieval world, creating connections between previously isolated regions. Viking traders linked the fjords of Norway to the markets of Constantinople, the shores of Britain to the steppes of Russia. This network of trade routes didn't just move goods. It transmitted ideas, technologies, and cultural practices across vast distances, contributing to the development of medieval European civilization. The legacy of their conflicts and challenges extends far beyond the Viking Age. Their solutions to the fundamental problems of navigation, survival, and exploration laid the groundwork for future maritime adventures. The Vikings proved that with the right combination of technology, courage, and collective effort, no ocean was too wide, no journey too dangerous, and no destination too distant. Life aboard a Viking ship was a masterclass in organization and discipline, where every crew member played a vital role in the vessel's survival. Dawn began with essential maintenance rituals that kept their wooden vessels seaworthy. Sailors would inspect the hull for any signs of water damage, checking and recalking seams where necessary. The precious wool sails required daily attention. They were taken down and carefully dried whenever possible to prevent rot, while ropes were regularly treated with animal fat to maintain their strength and flexibility. The division of labor aboard Viking ships reflected a sophisticated understanding of maritime operations. Each vessel operated like a floating village, with clearly defined roles that ensured smooth operation. The helmsman, often the most experienced navigator, would maintain constant watch over wind patterns and sea conditions. Several crew members were dedicated to sail management, quickly adjusting the complex rigging system in response to changing weather conditions. Others specialized in maintaining the ship's structural integrity, carrying out continuous repairs to prevent small problems from becoming catastrophic failures. Survival at sea demanded extraordinary resourcefulness. Viking crews developed remarkably efficient fishing techniques, using lines with multiple hooks to catch fish even while sailing at full speed. They mastered the art of preserving their catch through drying and salting, creating lasting food supplies for long voyages. Freshwater management was perhaps their most crucial skill. They became experts at collecting rainwater and identifying signs of nearby freshwater sources from sea birds and cloud patterns. The social structure aboard Viking ships reflected a unique blend of hierarchy and meritocracy. Leadership positions were earned through demonstrated skill rather than inherited privilege. A captain's authority came not from social rank, but from proven ability to navigate treacherous waters and make life-saving decisions under pressure. This meritocratic system created opportunities for social mobility that were rare in medieval society. A skilled navigator could rise from humble origins to become one of the most respected members of their community. Shipbuilders held particularly esteemed positions in Viking society. These master craftsmen were more than carpenters. They were engineers and artists who understood the complex physics of naval architecture. Their knowledge was both practical and mystical, combining precise mathematical understanding with traditional wisdom passed down through generations. The success of every voyage depended on their ability to create vessels that could withstand the fury of the North Atlantic while remaining agile enough to navigate river systems. The role of the broader community in preparing for voyages was equally crucial. Expeditions were community endeavors that required months of preparation. Families would work together to weave the massive wool sails, a process that could take an entire winter. Women played a vital role, not only in preparing supplies and equipment, but often in managing the commercial aspects of trading voyages. The whole community would participate in the ritualistic launch of a new ship, seeing it as a collective investment in their future prosperity. This communal approach to seafaring created a unique social fabric where maritime skills were valued above all else. Children grew up learning to read weather patterns and tide movements as naturally as they learned to walk. Every successful voyage strengthened community bonds, while the lessons learned from failed expeditions were carefully preserved and passed down to future generations. Knowledge transfer was treated as a sacred duty. Experienced sailors would mentor younger crew members, teaching them not just technical skills, but also the subtle art of reading the sea's many moods. This apprenticeship system ensured that vital navigation and survival knowledge was preserved and refined over generations. Stories of both triumphs and disasters were carefully memorized and retold, serving as both entertainment and crucial educational tools. The Vikings' maritime society was built on a foundation of practical innovation and collective responsibility. Their ships weren't just vessels for transportation. They were floating communities where every member's survival depended on their ability to work together effectively. This created a unique culture where individual excellence was celebrated, but always within the context of its contribution to the community's success. The legacy of this social structure can be seen in the remarkable achievements of Viking exploration. Their ability to establish trading routes from Newfoundland to Constantinople, to settle in hostile environments, and to maintain complex networks of commercial relationships across vast distances was a direct result of their sophisticated social organization and their dedication to maritime excellence. The Vikings' mastery of the seas unfolded through a series of remarkable achievements, each more daring than the last. The first crossing of the North Sea in the late 8th century marked the beginning of their maritime dominance. This initial voyage wasn't just a journey, it was a breakthrough that shattered the perceived limitations of naval technology. Using their innovative longships, these pioneers proved that open ocean travel was possible even in the turbulent northern waters. The success of this crossing transformed the North Sea from a barrier into a highway, forever changing the course of European history. The discovery of Mediterranean trade routes represents perhaps their most sophisticated commercial achievement. By the 9th century, Viking ships were regularly navigating through the Strait of Gibraltar, establishing trading relationships with both Islamic and Byzantine civilizations. These Mediterranean expeditions required extraordinary navigational skills, as Vikings had to adapt their northern sailing techniques to entirely different weather patterns and astronomical observations. Their ships began appearing in ports from modern-day Spain to Constantinople, creating a trade network that connected the far north with the ancient civilizations of the Mediterranean. The colonization of Iceland, Greenland, and North America stands as testament to the Vikings' unparalleled exploration abilities. The settlement of Iceland, beginning around 870 CE, required crossing hundreds of miles of open ocean. This wasn't just a single voyage of discovery. It developed into a sustained colonization effort that transported thousands of settlers, livestock, and supplies across treacherous waters. The success of this venture encouraged even bolder explorations. The subsequent discovery and colonization of Greenland by Eric the Red in 985 CE pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible. Here, Viking sailors had to master navigation through ice-filled waters, developing new techniques for detecting and avoiding icebergs. The Greenland colonies survived for nearly 500 years, maintaining regular contact with Iceland and Norway through some of the most challenging sailing conditions on Earth. The culmination of Viking exploration came with their discovery of North America around 1000 CE. Leif Erikson's voyage to Vinland, modern-day Newfoundland, represented not just a geographical achievement, but a triumph of navigation and seamanship. The ability to cross the entire North Atlantic, maintain course without modern instruments, and return to tell the tale stands as one of history's greatest maritime accomplishments. Surrounding these achievements was an aura of mystery, particularly regarding their navigation techniques. The Vikings possessed methods for determining latitude and direction that remained secrets for centuries. One of their most intriguing tools was the mysterious sunstone, a crystal that could locate the sun's position even on overcast days. This technology was so advanced that similar principles weren't rediscovered until the age of modern polarized light research. The oral transmission of geographical knowledge added another layer of intrigue to Viking navigation. Rather than relying on written maps, Viking navigators memorized complex sailing directions called hufvilla. These included detailed information about currents, wind patterns, and the flight paths of birds. This knowledge was passed down through generations in the form of stories and verses, often encoded in such a way that only experienced sailors could fully understand their meaning. Their system of navigation combined observable phenomena with sophisticated mental calculations. Vikings developed methods for measuring time using the movement of stars, creating what historians call star clocks. They could determine their position using the height of the sun, the behavior of ocean swells, and even the color of the water. These techniques were guarded zealously, shared only with trusted apprentices through years of careful instruction. The Vikings also maintained secret knowledge about specific routes and landmarks. They developed a complex system of natural navigation markers, using distinctive coastal features, underwater reefs, and even the behavior of marine life to guide their way. Many of these markers remained unknown to other seafaring peoples for centuries, giving Viking ships a crucial advantage in both trade and warfare. Perhaps most intriguing were their methods for crossing vast stretches of open ocean. Without compass or sextant, Viking navigators developed techniques for maintaining course using natural phenomena like the migration patterns of whales, the direction of prevailing winds, and even the polarization of sunlight. Many of these methods remained mysteries until modern times, with some still not fully understood by contemporary scholars. The legacy of these achievements and mysteries continues to fascinate maritime historians. Each discovery about Viking navigation techniques reveals new layers of sophistication, suggesting that these medieval sailors possessed knowledge that in some ways rivaled or even surpassed our modern understanding of natural navigation. The Vikings transformed navigation from a mere survival skill into a sophisticated art form, blending scientific observation with inherited wisdom. Their astronomical knowledge was remarkably advanced for their time, demonstrating a deep understanding of celestial mechanics. They tracked the movement of the sun, moon, and stars with extraordinary precision, developing techniques to determine latitude by measuring the height of the North Star and creating mental maps of star patterns that guided them across vast ocean expanses. Their mastery of astronomical navigation was complemented by an intimate understanding of marine currents. Viking navigators learned to read the complex patterns of ocean movements, recognizing subtle changes in water color, temperature, and wave patterns that indicated specific currents. They understood how these currents shifted with seasons and weather patterns, using this knowledge to plot efficient routes across the North Atlantic. This expertise allowed them to establish regular sailing routes between Scandinavia, Britain, Iceland, and even North America. The Vikings developed an almost mystical ability to interpret natural signs. They observed the behavior of whales and seabirds, knowing that certain species appeared at specific distances from land. They studied cloud formations, understanding how different shapes and patterns could predict weather changes days in advance. The flight patterns of migrating birds served as reliable indicators of direction, while the presence of specific seaweed varieties told them about water depth and proximity to land. Their technological innovations revolutionized medieval shipbuilding. The distinctive Viking longship design represented a quantum leap in naval architecture. These vessels featured a flexible hull that could twist with the waves rather than fight against them, dramatically improving seaworthiness. The shallow draft allowed these ships to navigate both open oceans and river systems, while the distinctive clinker-built construction technique created vessels that were simultaneously light, strong, and flexible. Viking shipbuilding techniques were far ahead of their time. They developed sophisticated methods for selecting and preparing wood, understanding how different tree species offered varying properties of strength and flexibility. Their master craftsmen created ships using a complex system of overlapping planks, secured with iron rivets and sealed with tarred wool. This construction method created vessels that could flex and move with the waves while remaining watertight, a crucial innovation for ocean navigation. The Vikings' navigational instruments, though rudimentary by modern standards, demonstrated remarkable ingenuity. The mysterious sunstone, a crystal that could locate the sun's position even on overcast days, remains one of their most fascinating innovations. They developed primitive bearing dials that helped maintain course over open water, and used specialized wooden boards to measure the sun's height above the horizon. These tools, combined with their observational skills, allowed them to navigate with remarkable accuracy across thousands of miles of open ocean. The synthesis of their observational skills, technological innovations, and navigational instruments created a maritime culture unmatched in medieval Europe. Viking ships became floating centers of learning, where knowledge was passed down through careful apprenticeship systems. Each voyage added to their collective understanding, refining techniques and expanding the boundaries of what was possible in medieval navigation. Their achievements weren't just the result of courage or luck, but rather the product of a sophisticated intellectual tradition that combined practical experience with careful observation and technological innovation. This profound understanding of maritime navigation became deeply embedded in Viking culture, reflected in their art, mythology, and social structures. Their ships weren't merely vessels of transportation. They were manifestations of their highest technological and intellectual achievements, representing the perfect fusion of practical knowledge and innovative thinking that characterized Viking civilization at its height. The Viking Age marked an unprecedented era of cultural exchange and commercial interaction that transformed medieval Europe and beyond. Far from being mere raiders, the Vikings established sophisticated trading networks that stretched from the Americas to the Arab world, creating lasting connections between previously isolated societies. In the British Isles, Viking influence penetrated deeply into local culture and commerce. They established trading posts that grew into major cities like Dublin, York, and Wicklow. These settlements became vibrant centers of cultural fusion, where Norse traditions blended with Celtic and Anglo-Saxon customs. The Vikings introduced new shipbuilding techniques to British craftsmen, while adopting local agricultural practices and architectural styles. This exchange created a unique hybrid culture that still influences these regions today. The Vikings' commercial relationships with the Islamic world were particularly fascinating. Their ships regularly sailed to Baghdad and Constantinople, where they traded amber, furs, and slaves for silver, spices, and silk. Archaeological evidence reveals the extent of this trade. Thousands of Islamic silver coins have been found in Scandinavian sites, while Viking artifacts appear in Middle Eastern locations. These commercial connections facilitated a remarkable exchange of ideas, technologies, and artistic styles between Northern Europe and the Islamic world. In Eastern Europe, Viking influence was transformative. The Rus, Swedish Vikings who traveled east, established trading routes along the Russian rivers, founding key cities including Kiev and Novgorod. Their interaction with Slavic peoples created new political and cultural institutions that would eventually evolve into the Russian state. The Vikings adapted their shipbuilding techniques to master river navigation, developing specialized vessels that could navigate both the Baltic Sea and the shallow Russian rivers. The Vikings' presence in the Mediterranean brought them into contact with the Byzantine Empire, leading to remarkable cultural exchanges. Many Vikings served in the Byzantine Emperor's elite Varangian Guard, bringing back to Scandinavia sophisticated military techniques, architectural knowledge, and religious ideas. This exposure to Byzantine civilization influenced everything from Norse art to military organization. In France, Viking settlers in Normandy developed a distinct cultural identity that combined Norse traditions with Frankish customs. These Normans would later influence medieval European culture through their own expansions, spreading a unique blend of Viking and French cultural elements across Europe. Their architectural innovations, military techniques, and governmental systems would shape medieval European society for centuries. The impact of Viking expeditions on North American indigenous peoples, though brief, demonstrated their ability to establish peaceful trading relationships when it suited their interests. Archaeological evidence from L'Anse aux Meadows in Newfoundland shows evidence of trade with indigenous peoples, including the exchange of goods and potentially technological knowledge. Perhaps most significantly, Viking maritime technology and navigation techniques influenced shipbuilding practices across Europe. Their innovative clinker-built ships inspired improvements in vessel design from the British Isles to the Mediterranean. Their navigation techniques, including the use of sunstones and solar compasses, eventually found their way into European maritime practices. The Vikings also served as cultural intermediaries, transmitting ideas and technologies between different societies. They carried Chinese silk to Western Europe, Arabic coins to Scandinavia, and British metalworking techniques to Eastern Europe. Their trade networks facilitated the exchange of not just goods, but also ideas, technologies, and cultural practices across vast distances. Their influence on medieval warfare was profound. Viking military techniques and weapons technology spread throughout Europe, influencing castle design, ship-based warfare, and infantry tactics. Their lightweight, versatile weapons and flexible combat style were studied and adopted by many European armies. The legacy of these interactions endures in language, place names, and cultural practices across Europe and beyond. Words of Norse origin pepper English vocabulary, while Viking-era legal and social customs influenced the development of various European institutions. Their commercial practices, particularly in areas like contract law and trading partnerships, contributed to the evolution of medieval European commerce. This vast network of cultural and commercial exchange demonstrates that the Vikings were far more than the raiders of popular imagination. They were sophisticated traders, cultural diplomats, and agents of technological transfer who played a crucial role in connecting the medieval world. Their ability to adapt to and learn from different cultures, while maintaining their distinct identity, made them one of history's most successful agents of cultural exchange and technological diffusion. Through these extensive networks of trade and cultural exchange, the Vikings helped create a more interconnected medieval world, laying the groundwork for many aspects of modern European civilization. Their legacy lives on not just in the artifacts they left behind, but in the lasting connections they forged between different cultures and societies across the medieval world. The Viking legacy in maritime exploration and navigation continues to resonate across centuries, fundamentally reshaping our understanding of human potential and maritime achievement. Their fearless expansion of geographical boundaries redrew the medieval world map, proving that the seemingly impassable North Atlantic was, in fact, navigable. When we consider that Vikings reached North America 5 centuries before Columbus, using technology that would appear primitive by today's standards, the magnitude of their achievement becomes truly staggering. Their influence on world cartography cannot be overstated. Viking navigators were the first to accurately map the North Atlantic, including detailed knowledge of its currents, weather patterns, and coastal features. They developed sophisticated methods for measuring distance and direction at sea, creating mental maps of oceanic highways that would later form the basis of northern European maritime routes. Their understanding of Atlantic wind patterns and ocean currents influenced navigation techniques well into the age of exploration. The Vikings' contributions to European maritime development created ripples that extended far beyond their era. Their revolutionary shipbuilding techniques, particularly the clinker-built hull design, influenced naval architecture for centuries. The Viking longships' ability to handle both ocean waves and river waters represented a quantum leap in vessel design, establishing principles that would influence shipbuilding well into the modern era. Their innovations in sail design and steering systems laid the groundwork for the great sailing ships that would later explore the globe. Looking at contemporary applications, the Viking approach to navigation offers powerful lessons in resilience and adaptation. In an age of GPS and satellite technology, their ability to navigate vast oceans using only natural phenomena reminds us of human ingenuity's remarkable potential. Their methods of reading weather patterns, ocean currents, and celestial bodies remain relevant for modern sailors and continue to serve as backup navigation techniques when modern technology fails. The Vikings' emphasis on technological innovation provides a compelling model for modern problem-solving. They didn't just adapt to challenges, they systematically developed new solutions, constantly improving their ships and navigation techniques. This iterative approach to innovation, where each voyage contributed to their collective knowledge, mirrors modern scientific methodology and technological development processes. Perhaps most inspiringly, the Viking spirit of exploration, their willingness to venture into the unknown and push beyond perceived limitations, offers a timeless lesson in human achievement. In an era when most Europeans believed the world ended at the horizon, Vikings dared to sail beyond it. This courage to explore, to risk everything in pursuit of discovery, remains as relevant today in our exploration of space as it was in their exploration of uncharted seas. Their legacy teaches us that true innovation often comes from necessity. The Vikings developed their remarkable maritime capabilities not because they were inherently adventurous, but because their survival and prosperity depended on mastering the sea. This practical approach to problem-solving, finding creative solutions to real-world challenges, continues to inspire modern innovators and entrepreneurs. What's particularly remarkable about Viking achievements is how they maximized limited resources through ingenuity and careful observation. In an age of advanced technology, their ability to achieve so much with so little serves as a powerful reminder that human intelligence and determination can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The Vikings' collaborative approach to knowledge sharing and skill development also offers valuable lessons for modern organizations. Their system of apprenticeship and practical education, where knowledge was passed down through generations of sailors and shipbuilders, demonstrates the importance of combining theoretical understanding with practical experience. Today, as we face global challenges that require both technological innovation and human adaptability, the Viking legacy of exploration and innovation becomes increasingly relevant. Their achievements remind us that the boundaries of what's possible are often defined not by our tools, but by our imagination and determination. If you've been fascinated by this journey through Viking maritime history, I encourage you to continue exploring these remarkable achievements. Don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow history enthusiasts, and subscribe to the Medieval Archives for more captivating adventures through history. By understanding and appreciating the Viking legacy, we gain valuable insights into human potential and the timeless spirit of exploration. What aspects of Viking navigation and exploration inspire you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and join our community of history enthusiasts as we continue to uncover the remarkable stories of our past. Together, let's keep the spirit of exploration alive. Remember to hit that notification bell to stay updated with our latest historical adventures.